Señores, bienvenidos a 8000 kilómetros podcast. Por fin se nos hizo realidad este sueño. No, esta idea de tener invitados. Les habíamos comentado que queríamos traer gente de fuera de nuestros países para que compartieran un poco con nosotros y con ustedes ahora su conocimiento, su vasto conocimiento, que es arduo y es mucho mejor que el nuestro, siendo realistas. Y en este episodio tenemos a Alf Olofsson. Es un amigo que hemos conocido ya un poquito más de 2 años. Y sí, más o menos. Él es de Suecia. Él se ha desarrollado en la industria como manager, como tour manager, como productor de eventos. Hoy en día se dedica un poquito más a la docencia. Ha trabajado literalmente en todas partes del mundo. China, Japón, Rusia, Suecia, Inglaterra, Francia, Brasil, Estados Unidos. Y nos platicó un poco más específicamente sobre la industria en vivo, en los conciertos. Y muchachos, ¿qué les pareció? ¿Qué opinan?
Yo creo que estuvo buenísimo. Lo que más me llamó la atención por lejos es el énfasis que se hace en el tema de los conceptos a la hora de hacer un evento en vivo. Creo que es lo más importante. Yo cuento ahí entre medio que hice un evento y que no me fue muy bien. Pero que, claro, porque obvié eso que suena tan lógico, tan obvio, pero muchas veces lo pasamos por alto y creo que eso es algo que a seguir tomando en cuenta. Escúchenlo con detalle porque está bueno, da muy buenos consejos respecto a esa área que creo que es fundamental y va a ser cada vez más importante.
A mí lo que más me sorprendió fue los consejos que me dio sobre la importancia de mezclar buenas prácticas que han salido en los últimos meses y que tendrán un buen impacto post pandemia, ¿no? Cosa que se generará un concepto bueno a través de las buenas prácticas que surgieron.
Ese híbrido que él mencionó. A mí personalmente lo que me gustó fue los consejos finales también que él dio a los productores de evento. Ahorita que vamos a volver a retomar y va a haber una sobreoferta de eventos en vivo. Entonces, eso a mí fue lo que más me pareció chévere.
Entonces, pues nada, disfrútenlo. Cabe recalcar que estamos ahora hablando en inglés. La entrevista va a ser en inglés, así que disculpen. O sea, aquellas personas que tengan inglés perfecto, no nos culpen. Disfrútenlo, muchachos. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to 8,000 kilometers, 8,000 kilómetros. Yes, we are now speaking in English, but there's a reason why. It's not because we want to show off that we know more languages. A reason why we are speaking in English is because we finally have our first guest of the podcast, Mr. Alf. So, Alf, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me, because I really love to be a part of this.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I wanted to start by talking how we met. I remember we were all sitting around in one room and we were all sharing the last concert that we went before being in that room. To be honest, I don't remember which was the band that I saw. But then everyone was like, coffee break or something. And I was just chilling outside. And I remember, Alf, you came and you were like, so who wants to get coffee?
At the cantina.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I was
I was there too. I remember.
And I remember I was like, this long-haired guy has a nice vibe. Let's go and get a coffee with him. And yeah, we went to have coffee. We sat and we started talking about the only thing that we talk basically, which is music, music industry and bands and live. And since then, every time that we meet, we always get coffee and we talk about the music. So this time is special because we're finally recording all these conversations that we have had before. And to start, because we know a little bit about you already, because we have known you for almost 2 years now. What happened in your life that made you end up working in the music industry, Alf?
Well, I'm going to try to keep this short, but it's not easy. But when I was young, I was a musician. I was actually 13 years old when I recorded my first album and went on tour. At that time, like, my parents were kind of like, I won't say poor, but they were not very well off. And we could never travel. But I saw that I always wanted to travel, and music could be the ticket to travel. So I started off as a musician, but I realized, like, I wouldn't make any money because there were so many people around me that make money. So I kind of decided to, like, shift side. So I ended the band and started to be a tour manager. As a tour manager, I could travel the world and I got paid for it. And I mean, think about that. Someone who don't have a penny, and I actually get paid to go to Japan and Brazil and anywhere. So I really enjoyed that. And I did that for 6-7 years around the world. And and during that time, I started my own record label as well. That was a punk label based in London at the time, because I was based in London. And I mean, I lost shitload of money on that label, but it was fun. It was fun, and it's a part of the game, you know. Like you can't just go in and win all the time. So I made money as a tour manager. I traveled the world, and I invested it in a record label and lost it as fast as I made it. So that was the first part. Then, after tour managing for a while, I realized that, like, I've seen the world so many times now, so I kind of get bored of it. So I wanted to be more working with bigger projects. So I started to be kind of like managing bigger projects, mostly from different countries, from a government side, all focused on export. Because I always believed that the world should be our oyster. Like, we should be able to travel, live, export, import from wherever we want, because we're all humans. So I find it like very interested to open up, and the government basically paid me a lot of money to work in China, Russia, India, Brazil for a while. And so that was really fun. So I built the export strategies for Sweden in these countries. On the same time, I was keeping up US and UK for the government, and Japan. Yeah. So I did that for the government as well. So some of them made a lot of money to the Swedish music industry, and others made less, or maybe nothing at all. But at least they wanted to go in because it was moving markets. And I enjoyed it very much, you know. So I did that. And then I had my management as well during that time. So I started to work management for a couple of artists. And I really like that part, because there you can really start to help artists, but at least find new ways and new revenues. And you can control revenues in a total different way. And you can make deals that really work for the artist and not always for the label or whoever, you know. There's ways to still keep it going as it always been, with like you work with a major label, but maybe this time I started to license out the music instead of just like basically selling it to them. So that was what I was doing for quite a lot of years. And 8 years ago, I was invited to talk on a university in Sweden. And I wasn't really keen on it because, like, you know, I'm not very much of a people's person. So I didn't really like it. But it was a good friend of mine. So I like basically, okay, fair enough, I do it. And it took me like basically 20 minutes in a room with students to understand that this room is full of that positive energy that I always looked for, that I had when I was young. And then I lost it like in an industry that is very based on money. I lost a lot of that. But here with the students, I found like, here's the future. And I can help to create a different understanding of the music business with being a teacher. So from that moment, I started to teach more regularly. And 6 years ago, I got into Berkeley, Valencia, which was a step up, because now I have international students. In Sweden, I only had Swedish students, but now like it's students from all over. I mean, you guys are a good example of how spread out it is. And now I love it because I can show you a few tricks, but what you don't realize is that you show me even more, because you tell me about your countries, you tell me how they work. So basically, you educate me more than I educate you. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you for those words.
Yeah.
So now I'm teaching. And to still do management and to still do projects. But that's what I'm doing. So that was the short version.
Nice. Where can we find the long version? Just kidding.
Well,
I mean, it's really obvious that you have a lot of experience in different fields. And today we want to focus more on the live aspect. because like you have been tour managing a lot of bands, you've been building events basically everywhere in the world. And every time we talk about that, there's always something that repeats and repeats in our conversations, which is the importance of the concept when building an event. Because sometimes people might think that, oh, I need a lot of money, or I need like the top tier lineup to build an event. But I don't know what you guys think about what is the most important aspect to have when starting building an event.
Well, for me, the answer is very easy. It's to have a very strong story, have a very strong concept. Because, like, just face it, you can't compete with the festivals who have an endless amount of money. And you probably don't even want to compete with them because it's really not interesting to just buy the biggest lineup for 30 million euros. You know, that's not fun. But what everyone can do, regardless if they have money or not, is that they can think about and have a really strong concept. And that means that, like, it can be on your roof terrace for 10 people and a very interesting band with a very interesting story. And you can sell that to a very specific target group. And I do believe that that is the future for the music business after the pandemic, because there will be a huge demand for music, but there won't be the same amount of money that before. So I believe that, like, if you can, like, think about a very strong concept, a very strong story to go with it. You have to tell people a story. You can't just tell them a ticket. You need to tell them a story, why they should go to this event. And then give them a whole lot of, like, added values. Like, for example, food, beer. Let's say beer. You can either go for, like, a beer full of chemicals that is a very, like, on every shelf, every bar. Or you can, for example, have a craft beer festival at your festival. And to have a craft beer festival, you probably only need 3 different brands. And then let's say that you invite a couple of local food producers who you know have really cool stuff. That means that you have maybe bands for 2 days, but you probably only have like 4 or 5 bands per day. One of them costs money. The rest is basically good stuff on the way up. So they don't cost much money. You have it in a lovely spot that's already fenced in, already have toilets, everything. You don't have to invest in that. Then you add on a bit of food, a bit of, like, good drinks, maybe a record fair, you know, if the target group is middle-aged, you know, people who love records, or like certain groups in the society love vinyl records. If it's a gig for them, then have a small, like, record fair as well. Invite 2-3 secondhand vinyl dealers, you know. That makes you having a festival concept immediately. And the funny thing is that you can actually charge the beer, the food, the record people to be there. So basically, it's not a cost, it's a revenue for you. And on the same time, it's a huge added value for the audience. And all that, if you play it clever, you know people around you, you can build a festival for like a fraction of the money it normally costs. You just need to think a little bit and have that cool story. But a cool story is built around what you can offer people. And in this case, it's a record fair, it's a craft beer festival, it's like local produced food, and you brand every part as something really important. That means that, like, the lineup is just going to be worth, you know, it's not going to be the main reason why all people go there. The lineup have to have like a purpose, like a red thread, like this is what we do, because like it's the lineup that basically start to sell it to the audience. But everything else that is interesting for that target group will add value, will sell tickets, and you will make money, or at least break even.
Yeah, I feel that it's a learning curve whenever someone is starting to build an event.
And I'm a little bit curious of, like, what are the key elements that an event producer has to have to pitch to these vinyl record store, to pitch to these company that is producing craft beer?
You need to have the target group. We normally call it like you have to have a deck, a sales page, where you put down on one page, just like, this is what I do, some nice pictures, and you basically introduce it to whoever you like. I mean, if you're a music nerd, so you probably hang on these record stores, So basically, like you have the concept, you have everything, you have like, okay, I estimate we're going to have 1,500 people here. It's for this specific target group. Then like I go to the record store and say like, look, we're building this really cool festival on this really cool space that I think it would be super cool to have a little record fair. Like, would you like to be part of this? I have to charge some money, but like let's find a nice way. I mean, you pay me 100 euros or something. It's just to cover the cost, or 500 euros, whatever.
Or Colombian pesos.
Like, yes.
Which is way less. Yeah.
Okay, way less. But it all depends on where you are in the world, Like if you're in Stockholm or London, it's probably 500 euros, So it's all depending on where you are. But the price is not interesting. But when you sell it, it has to be a price that people feel like, yeah, this is affordable. This is okay. But more important, they're going to think, is this the target group that I want to find out that my shop exists? Mm-hmm. Because for the record store, it's a marketing tool. It's like every record store, they live off that people know that they exist and can go there and buy records. So this is like a chance for them to reach out from the store to a bigger audience and show them what they have. So like they basically expand. Instead of putting in an ad in a paper, they go here and they actually show what they have. And that is worth money. And it's the same with the craft beer. Craft beer, it's very special. It's very like there's a story behind it. Again, it's important for them to reach out because they will be like competing with Heineken and Amstel and God knows what. So they need to go out and find that audience that like they drink craft beer. They are happy to pay €1 more to get a good beer than to get something full of chemicals. And I think like, again, we have to go back to the target group, like the festival you build have to aim for a target group who cares about these things. So you can, for example, do an Americana festival is perfect. I guess a metal festival would be perfect. People who care about what they drink, and drink is important. If you, for example, go for an EDM concert, I wouldn't recommend you to like do either record fair or food or craft beer. I mean, then you need to do other cool things for that target group, for that age group. So you always need to do your homework and think, what is it I'm building here? And who can I get in who will add value for the consumer? So it's pretty simple, really.
Alf, I wanted to ask you.
Eric! Hi, Eric!
Were you here?
Wow.
Yes, I'm listening to all the things you were saying, Alf. I wanted to ask you, through all your experience and what you were talking about the concept, what are the main challenges of building a strong concept nowadays?
I would say that the competition is fierce. Because, like, for example, if you build, let's say, a small metal festival, then you will compete with the big metal festivals who have Metallica and Iron Maiden and stuff. And question is if, like, you can afford to have something that will pull some people, because I know that the metal fans are really like, they go to these big events and they really like looking forward to that gig, the Metallica or the Iron Maiden. The problem would be there to find them to like, okay, but what can I do to bring the local metal fans to this event without spending $1 million on a lineup? So that is your biggest challenge. And it's the same with any other genre. I mean, some genres are more, should we say, suited for this kind of small events. Like, for example, singer-songwriters, Americana, a certain kind of world music. They are very easy to work with because it's the audience don't have these big gatherings. They kind of like, they're more happy in a more intimate surrounding, you know, where the actual festival space makes sense and is the most important part. So they are like the given ones, you know, but then as soon as you go into other genres, you need to kind of like face the target group's consumer habits, if we can call it that. So like if the metal fans, if there's a gap, if you have any kind of like that this is something they would like to do in between they go to Rock am Ring and Rock am Park and God knows what, like in between that. So that is my advice on that.
Yeah, and I think that whenever we're starting, we first need to, like, the target is really important. And the first people or the first attendees that are going to go to your event is going to be the network, the close network that you already have. Because the other day I was scrolling at the pictures on my phone and I found the flyer of the first event that I produced when I was like 16, 17 years old. And like, it was horrible. Like, I remember the experience, and it was in an abandoned building. I had no budget at all. So I bought like the cheapest alcohol ever to sell there. I invited like 5 bands that were my friends were playing, and they invited their family, they invited their friends. Of course, everything was kind of illegal because we didn't have the permission to do so. But like, it all started like that. So I feel that sometimes people think too much about like, no, but it's so expensive, but it's so difficult, blah, blah, blah. But like, I remember when I started, it was all because of having fun at the end when building an event, and because I wanted just to smash the drum kit and play punk or metal in front of my friends who were smelly and hairy, you know? Do you remember what was the first event that you built?
Oh my God.
Yeah, let's travel back in time.
but first of all, I would like to say that, like, Lewis, if you think about it, you got everything right as a 16-year-old. It's just with the knowledge you have today, you would do the same thing, but
with better contacts, maybe.
Still illegal.
Yeah, still illegal.
Still illegal.
That's the thing that won't change.
But the thing is that, like, you would still go in with the love of the music as number one. And then you would go in and like, okay, I need alcohol. This time I would invite alcohol companies so they pay me to do it, not go out and buy the cheapest stuff I find.
Definitely.
And, you know, you would do the same thing, but with your knowledge today, you would do it and actually make money and most likely not lose money. And you could extend it out from your family and friends to other people.
Surprisingly, I did make money that day. Like, I don't know how it happened.
The accounting was not right.
Yeah, I was about to say the same. I wanted to add something to ask you, Alf. Something that we have actually talked a lot here. What is your take on virtual festivals or virtual live events on this context of a pandemic? Because I think all you're mentioning is super interesting and super like valuable. I'm not an expert at live. I actually have done one event which I lost pretty much all the money. like I lost everything. Not even my friends went. I had no concept. Like it sounds funny, but it's true. It's true. Trust me.
Don't worry.
But yeah, I want to know, like, and I think many of us want to know, what's your take on live events, like on virtual live events? Do you think they're going to be a thing? Do you think, or if they are going to be a thing, what rules are going to change? Are they going to be still the same?
Yeah, like on online events, like I have to start with that. I think it's extremely boring because there's no interaction with people. And most of the time it's really badly done. It's done with like, here's a band, here's a camera. The band play, the gig is over. I think that you need to think again about the story. Like, go back. Online is not different than to build a really good festival. So if you're going to build an online, I would say think about the concept, think about what's in it for the viewer, for the person who's going to sit there and look. And for example, the festival we build now with the students at Berkeley, that instead of like just doing a streamed show, we actually use it as a travel show to Valencia. So we use 7 different locations that are really pretty. We have one band on each location, super good. Like the band have to fit the location. We have in-betweeners, everything from someone telling a story to interviews to certain NGOs that talk very shortly about their thing. So there's a lot of other things than just the band, plus that we pre-recorded so we can control the sound and the visuals far more than just on a streamed concert. So again, back to like a good concept, you're telling a good story, you try to find other angles that can basically help you to build this. In our case, it's a travel show because people missing concerts, but I miss travel as much. So we thought it like that's a good combination. You know, you bring people to Valencia, you show them Valencia, you show them good music in good environments. And that is the key for this. And I think that like, if you're going to do online events, you need to be more switched on when it comes to the story and the whole production value. The production value don't need to be expensive, but it has to be well done. If you pre-record it, then you have the chance to work with the material before you send it out. You can still have chat rooms open. You can still like stream it on all the different platforms. So you can interact with people in real time when you show the festival, but it's pre-recorded. So all the team can sit and just like interact with people. So that's my take on it. Back to Lou's question about my first event, I must say that I don't really remember, but it must have been like a local music festival or something like that. But I'm too old. It's too long time ago.
Are the challenges still the same one as the one that you built back then? Or has it changed a little bit? Because like we today now, like before the pandemic and after the pandemic, we will continue seeing that all these festivals are massive, like massively big, gigantic. And there are also some festivals that are a little bit smaller, where they focus on like developing this concept, developing a story, to deliver something special to a target group. Has the challenge changed along time?
I don't think the challenge have. I don't think it have changed at all. Because I still think you have the same. You have so many different genres of music to work with. I would say that like at that time, I didn't understand. I didn't have the knowledge. So I did all the mistakes that a very young person do who don't have any experience in this business. So I probably found the challenges like I couldn't get people in. And that was probably because I didn't really have anything to offer. I had like a handful of local bands, same as you had on your first gig, you know, like I didn't really understand that, like, if I could offer people more, they would be more likely to go there than to look at this totally unknown band that not even I heard about before the gig, you know, like it's the same challenges. At that time, we had the same big festivals. I mean, look at it. Glastonbury is 50 years old, and Roskilde and all the big European festivals, they are like 30 plus years. So we had the same competition. And those at that time who kind of like really was thinking about the story and the concept, they succeeded and they built good festivals. And everyone else, like me, we didn't succeed because we didn't have the story. We didn't have the concept. So I think nothing had really changed, you know, like some people would say that like, yeah, but the fees for the bands are so much higher now. Yeah, but like, to be honest, we couldn't afford the fees then either. So for me, it's not a difference if a band costs $1 million or $1.5 million. I still can't afford it. So I need to look at other angles.
Yes, I feel that there's a huge gap because at least in Mexico, the oldest festival that I can remember that is actually big is el Vive Latino, and it's 18, 20 years old only, and it was a huge, massive monopoly when it came out because there was no other festival that could compete against Vive Latino, and for a couple of years now, around 5-8 years, there has been a boom in building events. So basically, we have a huge festival happening every month. And now, how can we stand out, or how can we take this next step to make our event from local to international?
Well, I would say that go back here to Mac's question just before. If you want to do a local event to have a worldwide kind of audience, I would say that even when we're out of this pandemic, what we have learned is that the online festival won't hold its ground on itself, but it will be a part of a new concept. So if I were building a festival in, let's say, Valencia, it's a local festival, but I feel the story is super strong. I feel it's so niched music-wise, so it will really be of interest, and it's a cool festival site. Then I would have the audience, the live audience, the limit we can have, but I would probably as well have 3 cameras and 1 moving camera to shoot it and get it out online. So for either free or a cheaper price, you would be able to join the festival online. Because then you can promote it worldwide towards this very niched music group of people, the target group, and you will get people in. I have a good example of that. Friends of mine who play in a band, they can't tour, so they did 1 concert online from actually a music venue, but there was 0 audience because we were not allowed to have audience. But they actually made more money on that. And keep in mind, they didn't sell tickets. It was just voluntarily, you could give money, donate money, whatever. There was this button on Facebook and everywhere where okay, give a tip, And they actually made so much more money than they would do on a normal gig. And they looked at their audience was in 17 countries. So yes, you can do it. I mean, if you have a strong name, you can definitely do it. But if you have a very strong story and a very strong concept, you can do it as well. And you actually can sell tickets if you want, but it's different in different countries. But the donation part is not bad if you have a middle-aged, middle-class, interested in culture audience, people who kind of understand that we need to support the arts. Then you would have people who give money, and then it could be a good thing. There is a cost with doing it online, but I think if you're clever about it, it could be a way to do a hybrid, and hybrids is what I would see more of in the future.
Yeah, it's very interesting that you mentioned this because we actually talked about it in our first episode. And one of the concerns that rose was that how can we how this online feature of the festivals, they don't cannibalize the actual live event.
I just want to add on top that I think what Jorge mentioned and what we mentioned would be more related to a band that tours and that makes, for example, a South America tour, which was the example that we gave. So I think that concern goes bigger when you have a band that makes the same show in different places.
when you're on tour, it's a different thing because you can't really bring your concept with you. You can kind of like build it online, and that kind of like boost your ticket sales when you're coming to the next country or city. I think all this concept you can build online, and you can make it look like, okay, but you don't want to miss this live concert because the live concert is the key. And you don't want to miss out, interact with other fans and, like-minded people. Mm-hmm. You can like, depending on the music style of music, but like, yes, of course you can lose people to the online, but I think you would actually get more fans who can't go to the concert. You play in, you play in Sao Paulo, and people from Recife or wherever, Brasilia, they can't go there just to see you play, but you can have them online. I just don't think like it's just a matter of practicality. Most people can't afford to travel too far, and they are the ones that you want to reach with the online version. I don't think that any in the town who physically can go to the gig will not go. I can't see that. I don't think that will happen.
I think that this online live streaming aspect is like the transformation or the evolution of when a band was touring and they filmed one concert in one city and then distributed on DVD or Blu-ray so that everyone else could see it. Like, because it has always happened that not every band can tour and play on every country or in each city of each country. So I think that this is a new adaptation of what people could buy back then when buying a DVD and get it and watch it on their TV. Now it's just like you're watching it. You have the opportunity to watch it live at the same time that it's happening in case that this band or this artist is not able to perform in your city.
And I would say as well that like you won't like stream every concert. I would think that like if you're a band, you maybe decide to stream the last concert of the tour, and then you have that for sale for all the fans who couldn't go. So it's not that you kind of like use it every gig, because that would be so boring and you wouldn't sell any tickets on that. But if you have it on the end of the tour, let's say a band like you all know, like Opeth, if they do like a South American tour and then like in the end, they decide to record and they go out online like a long time before and say like, look, we end this tour in Mexico City and we're going to put that show online. So join us there, pay $10.
And only for 3 days. So people's going to be like, oh.
Yeah, 3 days or a week, But like, first of all, every Opeth fan in Mexico City have another reason to go to that concert because they want to sit home. They're like, I was at that concert, by the way.
Yeah. We want to show that we're the best audience ever. That's why.
Yeah. But that's like, that's how it works, And then you have this, and I guess that like a lot of the people who've been on the concerts all through South America, they're going to go in and buy a ticket for the last gig in Mexico City because like they want to review the gig that they saw, and this is the last gig. So they will go in again and buy a second ticket. And if it's a fraction of the money, $10 or whatever, they would definitely do it. Plus all the fans who couldn't go, they didn't get the tickets or they didn't have a chance to go, they would join in as well. It will be like a big end of tour celebration. So I think that like use the tools of online with what you know about the live market, and you would find like a really nice extra revenue and extra promotion tool to reach out with your brand.
Yeah, I think it's really important to mix all these new aspects that have been offering because of the technology advances. Because like, do you remember your first concert, Jorge? Which was it?
My first concert, I think it was like Fabulosos Cadillacs.
Fabulosos Cadillacs?
Yeah.
Yours, Eric?
Mine was Soda Stereo in 2007.
Oh, yeah, show off Soda Stereo.
Soda Stereo they didn't go to Peru, man. Don't lie.
Man, they did. I saw them.
He's saying on DVD.
Yeah, he was watching it on a TV, and for him that was a concert. Like yours,
What
Max?
it is.
Mine were more, to be honest, in classical music. So I don't remember the name of the pianist, but that was my real first concerts. Were watching classical pianists in the National Theater of Chile.
Such a nerd. And yourself, which was your first concert?
Well, my absolutely first concert was a Swedish band. But my first international concert, that was probably like a year after, was The Clash.
Oh, God.
And I saw The Clash in 1977 when they just released their first album. And it was funny because they could only play the songs from the album. So they had to play a couple of the songs. One song they played 3 times because we were all screaming for encores. Yeah. So, yeah, it's kind of like that's my first memory. I think I was 13 years old. And because I was a musician at that time, I could sneak in on the venue because there was an 18-year to enter. But like, because I was playing there, the bouncers was like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, get in. So I was a 13-year-old kid standing on the front line, and I saw The Clash, and that changed a lot of my view on music.
Yeah, I feel that when attending to a concert, when going to a show, has something magical on it. And whenever I'm building something, I always go back to that first concert, like Fabulosos Cadillac, Soda Stereo, The Clash. And I remember the feeling of like how my heart was beating at the same rhythm of the kick, or how the wind was in my face, or how sweaty I was, and I was crying and screaming and just like delivering everything.
So cute.
And I think that was like that's like the key part when building one live event, no matter the size of it. Like if you're able to deliver that same experience, that same feeling to the audience that is going to go to your event, like you're basically going to nail it, I think.
One of my last questions, Alf, would be like, this pandemic almost hopefully over. What are the key elements an event producer has to take or consider to go back in track?
Well, I think right now, you need to be very, very careful and aware of certain things. For example, we don't know when things will open up again. So don't invest too much money right now in booking stuff. I wouldn't invest much at all. Secondly, know that like as soon as a market opens up, it's going to be flooded with bands. Because a lot of the tours that were supposed to be 20, they've been pushed till maybe end of 20, and then they got pushed again to 21 because there's already contracts and no one wants to break them contracts. So the promoter together with the agent, they just push the concerts further and further. So right now, it's really hard to get a date, even 22, because a lot of the tours now are actually moved to spring, summer 22, because like the spring is gone. Everyone knows it's not going to open up. Summer, unfortunately, I would say that like the most festivals will cancel, if not every festival, which leave us to the fall. I think that the fall will open up, but there will be a lot of local restrictions. So the international acts won't tour, I don't think. I think that the venues, when they open up, they're going to focus on local acts just because it's not the same amount of money, and they can kind of like try to see like, will it stay open or will the government close down again? You know, you don't want to risk a lot of money. So everyone I know right now, they focus on March 22 and onwards, which means that like you moved all gigs from 2021 to 22. It's going to be gigs in most cities Monday till Sunday, so 7 days a week. And what happens then is that you don't have audience enough for that. So of these 7 gigs in a week, maybe 2 will have an okay sale, but the rest going to suffer a lot because just because it opened, it don't mean that people are going to rush and see 7 gigs a week. Another thing is the audience, they, in a lot of cases, will be more careful to go out. Just because like you're not really sure if it's safe to go out from a health point. But then another thing is a lot of the people who go on a lot of concerts during the pandemic, during 2 years of lockdown, they started to get other interests. And when it opens up again, it's not that they're going to abandon the new interest and just go to concerts. They would probably go, but less than before, or in the best case, the same amount of gigs as before, but they're not going to stop their new kind of like interest. Maybe you, like, because of the pandemic, you start to watch more movies, or you play chess, or you do something, you know. When the pandemic is over, you're not going to just stop do that, because you're going to keep the habits that you built up during the pandemic. That could be watching movies or whatever, but things that you done home. And it's going to be hard to get people out, and there's going to be far too many bands touring. So I see like the first year going to be very, very difficult to get people, get dates. I think like 23 is when we see the business go back to like the normal, like behaving that we had before. So 23, I guess that like then it will pan out that like, okay, X amount of gigs a week, like 4 or 5 gigs a week will happen on the big venues. And I think we just need to like have patience. And again, I think that is why you have a chance now to start the smaller, more niched festivals, because people, I think, will be more likely to go out on a small weekend festival in Valencia if you're from Valencia.
One of the things that people is going to be competing about is not only music, it's also the other industries, right? So sports, filming, everything is going to be available again. And it's not just music who's going to be overpopulated with different offers, but sports, movies, everything, vacations.
Yeah. Just the all restaurants going to open again. I mean, that will compete because people have been in for so long. So they would go out with their friends, family. You know, there's going to be so much family dinners going on. And that's stuff that you just can't ignore. Like maybe you want to go on that festival that same weekend, but like grandma have invited you to the first family dinner after the lockdown. Like that's going to be holy. There's no way you get out of that. Yeah. So we do have a lot of we do have a new reality to look into. And we who work in the live business, we need to have that in mind, which in my mind is like, don't invest too much money. Don't do all in the first year. Like just wait a little bit, do things, build up your brand, build up your story, but don't go all in.
Awesome. Thank you, Alf. Well, I think this interview has been very, very fruitful. Thank you for your time, Alf.
Thank you so much, Alf, for everything.
Hey, thank you, guys, and good luck with this.
Yeah, thanks for being the first one.
Yeah, but it's a good concept. So I guess that you will have a whole lot of really good guests here. It's going to be a success. It's going to be good.
Thank you, Alf.
Yeah. Thank you, Alf.
You take care, guys.
Thank you so much, Alf.
See you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.